there are plenty of channels out there who want to cover the news and the latest going-ons of many things, including the NFL. I don't want this to become a thing where I do it all the time and just cover what's immediately going on. I try to cover some topics that are a little bit different from what other people think, but I'm having so much fun with the Shedeur Sanders stuff that I really want to hop on here to talk about it. And I always know when an NFL story or a football story in general has come to the mass audience because of the fact that my father, who introduced me to football but doesn't love football anywhere near as much as I do, comes to me and wants to talk about something associated with football. And even he was like, what's going on with Shedeur Sanders? And what's playing out with all the situation there? And the reason I want to come in and talk about this situation is the first thing I'm going to talk about, which is the prank call that happened to Shedeur Sanders. I think it's really funny listening to people talk about what happened with the prank call, because I feel like so many people are talking about how bad and horrible it was. And I just want to come out and I'll put my face on it. I think it's super funny. I think it's absolutely hilarious. If you have access to that information and you go and do that, I can't imagine sitting around with any of my buddies I had growing up and not doing the same with that information. The issue there becomes whether or not you're the kid who actually initially has access to the information. Because I also know I'm not the type of person. I would have been too chicken to actually take that phone number as the kid and show it to my friends like, hey, I have this. But it's actually hilarious. And people are talking about it like everybody's all up on their high horse. But all of the people that I've listened to say that, I'm like, yeah, but if you were that age, you would probably do it as well. I'm only a few years older than the kids, and I probably wouldn't be motivating my friends to do it. But if I was sitting in the room and they wanted to do it, I certainly wouldn't stop them because it's very funny. And when it comes to things, I know that those are high-stress situations, but we're still talking about people that are getting paid well over six figures no matter where they go in the draft, given they make the roster. And nobody's prank calling a guy who's going to get cut before the season even starts. If Shedeur Sanders gets cut, that would be the most shocking point of this part of the drama that is played out thus far. And honestly, that just add to the magnitude of how interesting it's been so far. But moving on from that, I think the other thing too is I don't think those kids had any idea that the slide would be to the 5th round. Nobody had any idea that the slide would be all the way to the 5th round of the NFL draft. So there's no way they were expecting it to be as malicious because, we told him that he was going 9th overall, and it's like, well, he'll probably go by the 21st pick. So really, it seems like it's probably a lot less malicious than what they intended, because I think if they knew that he wasn't going to go to the 5th round, I also don't think the prank call makes as much sense. And nobody knew that. But then talking about the slide with Shedeur Sanders. The interesting thing, and I feel like the next part of it is who actually ended the slide. The thing with the Browns is just that it seems like they almost need to just try to push everything down into the future until the Deshaun Watson contract is fully settled. That's such a bad situation, and not just looking at it from a perspective of, hey, we should try to push things down the road because we literally can't do anything while that contract is on the books. It hurts us too much to be able to have enough talent to probably even become a playoff team while he's still on the roster. And the interesting thing with that is first having the decision where Myles Garrett is literally like, I want out, and basically refusing to him, saying, you're not leaving no matter what. And then adding this drama to it, the team that stopped the slide, out of everybody, it was them with all the things they've been having going on. It's just this story became such a large thing, and it's just the Browns keep stepping in to whatever situation they can be in to be the most awkward team imaginable and not have a nice cohesive group together. But the one thing that I think the media isn't factoring in well enough in terms of why teams also probably hesitated to pick him, I'm seeing the validity to the argument of there being teams saying the interviews were horrible. However, none of us were in the room for the interviews. But something you can understand is how humans react. And most people have a job. Most people are afraid to lose their job to some degree. And it's the exact same thing with NFL coaches. And one of the things that would be the scariest thing, even if you believe that general managers have say over what coaches do, over who they pick in the draft, the coaches are the one who actually have to select to put the player on the field. So if you're in a room, you're going to say, are you going to use this guy that I just drafted for you? And the coach says no, well, you're not going to draft him. And that goes to the point of, there's plenty of coaches that probably just told their general managers, like, I don't want this guy because I don't feel secure enough in my job to think that the guy that's coaching at the college level, that his father, isn't going to come take my job next season. That's not to say what Deion's accomplished at Colorado is sufficient enough to actually earn him an NFL job. I don't think it is. But we're talking about people being in charge of teams in NFL owners that most likely earned their money doing something different unassociated with football. And to the mind's eye, like, if you look at it, if you look at it to a very simplistic degree, it's, well, he turned that team around at the college level. Why can't he come turn our team around? If you look at it that simply, it's not a bad argument. The NFL owners probably could convince themselves of that fairly quickly. Say, well, I haven't got other guys to work. We fire guys every 1 to 3 years, so why not give that guy a shot? We have his kid on the team, and everywhere he's went with his kid, he's been successful. So I've just been kind of shocked that nobody's pointed that out in the media. Like, yeah, coaches probably don't want this guy on a team because it makes it way more likely to have a clear target of who the next head coach could be if you don't perform well enough for this season. So I guess all that makes sense why the Browns did it. As a Bills fan, wrong side. As a Bills fan, we've seen long-term droughts and lacks of success. We still haven't gotten that Super Bowl, and that sucks. But we've seen some sustained success in terms of making the playoffs, winning some playoff games the last few years, and seeing things turn around to a consistently positive area at least. We want to reach that mountaintop, but just feeling for the Browns fans. I mean, it sucks thinking about being a Browns fan and just seeing how many different types of twists and turns they get themselves into. But who knows? Maybe Shedeur Sanders will be the answer for them, and he'll be the one, even though it'll come with tons and tons of cameras and spotlight on him. Maybe he will be the one to turn them around. I don't know. I'd see him at least as a second-round pick in a normal draft, but he is not a normal prospect. So, yeah. We'll see where it goes from here. Subscribe.
So, if you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching.
2020 president candidate.